Hello, everybody, and welcome to week 10 of the NFL season. The trade deadline is going to be coming up right around the time that this gets uploaded, so stuff won't be mentioned about that here. It'll be mentioned tomorrow during predictions. But before we dive right into these power rankings, one quick say if you're new, subscribe would be greatly appreciated. Leave a like and let me know your thoughts down below. Now let's jump right into it. All right, so let's get some of the easy stuff out of the way. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers both were on buys this past week, so thus they fall to the honorable mentions, such as how things roll around here. So the first real honorable mention is the Carolina Panthers. It was a the Panthers are a sneaky good team this year. That was a nice win against the Packers. It showed off a lot of the good that they have on that roster, particularly the defense. They made that Packers offense look pretty much non-existent in that game. It was a really nice defensive showing, and on top of that, the offense had its bright spots. Bryce Young was not asked to do a whole lot in this game, only 20 pass attempts in this one. He had 102 yards in the win. So he did enough, he got the job done, had a really nice game-winning drive there. But Rico Dowdle got the main boatload of the carries in this one, and he worked it. He did really well once again. 130 yards and 2 touchdowns, 25 carries. Again, getting the majority of the workload. I think the next highest amount of carries was 5. So Rico Dowdle has really grown into this main back role for Carolina, and it has been great. Great to see. Passing game a bit of a question, but the Panthers are a team that we're always going to be a potential like ceiling of a 7th seed, and they're sitting at 5-4, and they're feeling really good. Right, with this win, they've been a sneaky good team this year. I like what I'm seeing. They're an honorable mention. The final honorable mention will be the Chicago Bears. I mentioned it during the streams on Sunday, which I go live for every primetime game, every Dolphin game, and a few other games, do live play-by-play, so check those out. But I mentioned it during the stream of the Chiefs-Bills game that I felt obligated to put Chicago into honorable mentions. So here they are. Although it was a defensive performance that was pretty much non-existent, they gave up over 400 yards to Joe Flacco, and it was a near miraculous comeback there for Cincy. Chicago did get the win because of the offense looking fantastic. It was a great showing. Caleb Williams had 280 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also had 53 yards on the ground and a receiving touchdown. Caleb Williams was doing it all in this game. Kyle Monagai had 176 yards on the day, and then Colston Loveland had a fantastic showing, led the team in receiving 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. All around a dominant offensive showing, which is what you wanted to see from Chicago against this Cincinnati defense, with Ben Johnson leading the way as the head coach and Caleb Williams. This is what the Bears offense could look like if they continue hitting their stride. Obviously, Cincy's defense is really bad, but still, it's a great sign going forward. The Bears are an honorable mention. Number 10 is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they stopped the bleeding a bit. They had a 2-game losing skid entering this game, and they responded with a defensive masterclass that they have been waiting for, and came against a really good Colts team. The offense did not do anything special. Rodgers had just over 200 yards and a touchdown. The team had 38 rushing yards total, so it was not a great day on the ground. But the defense found its much needed life after back-to-back weeks of really having really poor performances. A great all around game. They forced 6 total turnovers, 3 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, and they had that muffed punt that they recovered. They got 21 points off of turnovers, and it's a massive win to maintain distance with the Ravens for the top of that division, as the Steelers are entering a pretty tough stretch of their schedule, and getting this win at home is going to help make things not make things easier, but give them a little bit more leeway as they enter this tough stretch. But this Pittsburgh Steelers, they stick on at number 10. Number 9 is the Indianapolis Colts, and considering how bad the offense was in that game, the fact it was a 7-point loss does showcase just how good this defense has been under new DC Lou Amarillo this season. They shut down the Steelers offense, kept themselves in this game to the best of their abilities, but the turnovers lost them this game. 6 total turnovers. You're not going to win a lot of games with that. And Daniel Jones looked back to his Big Apple form in this one. 3 interceptions, 2 lost fumbles. Was a really rough game for Daniel Jones. But the other part of the issue is they couldn't get the ground game going. Jonathan Taylor only had 14 carries for 45 yards. That is a really rough showing. It's one of those games that you hope is more so an outlier than a turning of the tide to a worse direction. And I think that this game will just be an outlier, as I'm recording this, Sauce Gardner was just traded to the Colts. Legit, as I'm recording this, I get a notification. So the Colts are going to be just fine going forward. That is an all-in type of trade, and it's going to really shake up the AFC South and the entire AFC as a whole. So the Colts are going to be just fine. They're going to be able to get things back on track, especially if that defense which is already playing at a high level, just gets introduced to a high level corner being added to that roster. Colts going to be just fine. They're at number 9. Number 8 is the Los Angeles Rams, and coming off of their bye week, they had a home game against the Saints and Tyler Shuck in his first NFL start, and they dominated like they were supposed to. The defense played really well, picking off Shuck once and held him to 176 yards through the air. They also played the run really well. Taysom Hill ended up being a leading rusher for the Saints, and the Saints as a whole only had 57 yards on the ground. The offense looked back to form out there. Matthew Stafford had 281 yards through the air and 4 touchdowns. Kyren Williams, another great showing, 114 yards and a touchdown. And it was great seeing Puka Nacua back out there, and him and Davante Adams having that pairing that is going to be really fun to watch the rest of the way. They combined for 3 touchdowns in this one. And this was the showing that you expect against the Saints this year. So I'm not too hyping it up all that much because, again, it's against the Saints. You're at home. You're coming off of your bye. You're supposed to have a game like this. So with all that, the Rams, again, look, dude, they did what they were supposed to. They come in at number 8. Number 7 is the Green Bay Packers, and a performance like that, very similar to what we saw against the Browns a few weeks prior. Very disappointing game, especially by the offense. Injuries are starting to pile up. Tucker Kraft and Matthew Golden both went down in this one. Golden is said to be day-to-day, but Tucker Kraft is going to miss the rest of the season with a torn ACL, and that is the big crushing blow to this offense. He was the guy to really step up after Jaden Reed went down earlier on in the season. So now with Tucker Kraft being down, someone else needs to step into that role and really be a difference maker. The defense still looked great as they have all season. The defense that can win you a few games come to playoffs, but the offense is what's going to be keeping them from their full potential if they can't find someone to step up again offensively and really be able to put the pieces completely together. Josh Jacobs had a solid game in this one. And just all around, though, it's the receiving core that really needs someone to step up now that Tucker Kraft is out and Jaden Reed has been out. Going to be interesting to see how they handle this going forward. For now, though, the Packers, I still think, are potentially contenders and that they're going to be able to bounce back. But it's going to be a question as to how they bounce back. And because of that, they come in at number 7. Number 6 is the Detroit Lions. There's not really a whole lot to say about this game besides that they were coming off of their bye week and they let the Vikings get the better of them because of it. They gave up 142 yards on the ground and 2 passing touchdowns to JJ McCarthy. Though I wouldn't really put this solely on the defense. Jared Goff had a solid show in 284 yards and 2 touchdowns, but the ground game was very lackluster from what we're used to with the Lions. Only 65 yards total on 20 carries in this game. Jahmyr Gibbs had 2.8 yards per carry in this one and was basically a no-show. That definitely played a large factor into this outcome, as did special teams. They had a kick blocked in this game and they lost by 3. All around, not a showing I really expected from the Lions, and especially divisional games, though. They can cause a lot of chaos and lead to outcomes like this, but it's still a wasted opportunity to kind of jump ahead of the Packers in that division. They fall short at home, especially, but definitely a performance that I expect the Lions to be able to bounce back from. It's the Lions. I have to give them the benefit of the doubt under this MCDC era and with the team that they have and the amount of talent that they have on that roster. So with that, they come in at number 6. Number 5 is the Los Angeles Chargers. And this is one of those games where the Chargers found themselves down, but you can clearly tell they were still in firm control of the game, even when down 14-7. They were down early, still ended up winning 27-20, only gave up 6 points to the Titans offense. He gave up 145 yards through the air and 88 total yards on the ground. And the Titans offense could not move the ball pretty much at all. This Chargers defense had a fantastic game. Where the Chargers had their mishaps was special teams and in pick 6, but Herbert shook off that pick 6 and bounced back pretty quickly, and ended the day with 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also led the team in rushing with 57 yards, but they did have 131 yards total on the ground, so it's kind of a whatever. The key thing was they didn't let those early mistakes get to them, which is very possible when you're playing on the road and cross country in a completely different time zone. So it's a nice bounce. It's a nice really, it's a nice performance all around by the Chargers. You kind of did want to see a little bit more of dominance from them in terms of the scoreboard, but the actual play on the field, they were in firm control the entire time, even with this being a 7-point win. So the Chargers come in at number 5. Number 4 is the Denver Broncos, and that wasn't the same offensive dominance we saw last week from them, but the defense still showed out really nicely in this one. Bo Nix had 2 touchdowns, one of them to Courtland Sutton, the other to RJ Harvey, who now has 4 receiving touchdowns on the season, including one each of the past 3 weeks. He is having a quietly great rookie season for a running back, and he led the team in receiving yards this season. He has been more so the main receiving back, which is not too surprising. He did that in college as well. The ground game totaled 100 yards. J.K. Dobbins had 61 of those on 15 carries. The defense is what shined though. They held CJ Stroud to 6 for 10 and 79 yards before he left the game with a concussion. And then Davis Mills came in and had 17 for 30 passing and 137 yards. The ground defense gave up 77 total yards to Houston on 28 carries. And it was a big defensive win for Denver. They keep their lead in the division against the Chargers and gain some ground against the Chiefs. The offense, though, needs to get consistent down the stretch, as when the playoffs roll around, they're going to need to be able to put up more than 18 points in a game to be able to win those. But I do feel like they're going to be able to put those pieces together, and what they do at the deadline is going to be very interesting to see. So the Denver Broncos come in at number 4. Number 3 is the New England Patriots, and that was a closer game than expected against the Falcons, but the Pats keep winning, and that's all that really matters. May had a solid showing, 259 yards and 2 touchdowns on the day. Pop Douglas had 100 yards receiving in this one. The ground game was balanced with a team total of 110 yards. Travion Henderson and Terrell Jennings had 14 and 11 carries respectively in this game. The defense played the ground really well. They held Bijan Robinson to 46 yards and the team as a whole to 71 yards. Where they struggled though was the passing game. Michael Penix was back in Atlanta. He had 221 yards and 3 touchdowns. Him and Drake London, that connection is still really good, as Drake London also made his return after missing last week. But still a great win for the Patriots. They're tied for the 1 seed now in the AFC, and they have their style of play, and it is working out for them. They're surpassing expectations I had for them this season. They're able to win games and look really nice doing so. Patriots come in at number 3. Number 2 is the Seattle Seahawks. And talk about a dominant showing on primetime. That game was over before it even really started. It was a complete dominant effort from the Seahawks. Sam Darnold did not throw an incompletion until the 3rd quarter. He had 200 yards and 4 touchdowns in the first half. He would end the day with 330 yards passing and only 3 incompletions in this one. Special teams forced a fumble that led to them going up 21-0 in the second, and the defense was shutting down the Commanders throughout the entire game. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet combined for 67 yards rushing. The defense held Washington to 153 yards through the air. Most of the 4th quarter was just both of these two teams running the ball constantly to kill the rest of the clock. The Seahawks did not let their bye week phase them. They did not let a cross-country trip phase them. They went out there in their throwbacks and got a beautiful looking win. And the Seahawks, with that, move into number 2 on the rankings. Number 1 is the Buffalo Bills, and they continue their streak of dominance over the Chiefs in the regular season. This is their 5th straight win in that game. They're now 5-1 against the Chiefs in the regular season. Josh Allen was pretty much automatic in this game, 23 for 26 completion, 273 yards, and a touchdown on the opening drive. James Cook ended the day with 114 yards and 27 carries, did not find the end zone though, but was still an all-around really solid performance there for James Cook. Josh Allen did steal a couple rushing touchdowns from him, but that's whatever. The defense made the Chiefs look rough, especially against the ground. They shut down Kareem Hunt to 49 yards rushing in this game. Mahomes had a career low in completion percentage with 44.1%. All around, it was a great showing, but the regular season has never been the issue with Buffalo. The question is, can they continue this into January and into the playoffs? This was the best their run defense has looked all season, and they're going to need it to continue if they're going to actually get over the hump and make a push to the Super Bowl this season, and what could very easily be a very competitive AFC. But for now, in the regular season, I have the Bills as the top team in the NFL. So quick little rundown. The Pittsburgh Steelers are at 10, Indianapolis Colts at 9, Los Angeles Rams at 8, Green Bay Packers at 7, Detroit Lions at 6, Los Angeles Chargers at 5, the Denver Broncos are at 4, New England Patriots at 3, Seattle Seahawks are at 2, and the Buffalo Bills round things out at number 1. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you all next time. Have yourselves a damn good one.